Hey guys, it seems like today's class went really quickly. Maybe that's because we watched a video at the end, but I do want to take a moment just to catch you up on what the discussion was that you missed today. First, what we did was we looked at Oxfam's progress report. Oxfam is this organization in England, and they do a lot of, I guess you would call them service programs or global relief programs, maybe. They have programs for education and poverty and hunger and agriculture and all of the issues that we talk about. They have some sort of program that's working to help make it better. So they really are an incredible organization. They were very invested in the Millennium Development Goals. So each year they put out a pretty comprehensive progress report and also a summary report, which is what we're going to be looking at today. So scrolling down, we reviewed that the target basically is for all children, boys and girls, to complete a course in primary schooling by the year 2015. So then what we did was we read this piece here to talk about what progress has been made. So I'm going to let you pause this for a second, and what I'd like you to do is highlight any data that you think supports the fact that there was progress or there was not progress made. So why don't you do that now? Pause the video, read through it, and just collect any data that you find. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to think about, answer this question to yourself. Was progress made? Did we meet the goal? Did we sort of meet the goal? Or did we really not get anywhere? And what data has Oxfam collected to support that? So when I read through this, what I found was, let's see, let me just grab my highlighter. I saw that many more of the world's children are now enrolled in primary school. There's more equal number of girls to boys in primary school since 1990. Looking back to 2010, 61 million children were out of school in 2010, more than half of them in sub-Saharan Africa. This was progress since in the year what was it? In 1999, there were over 100 million students out of school. So what we see is that enrollment rates have increased substantially, specifically in sub-Saharan Africa, from 58% in 1999 to 76% in 2010. And we also saw countries in this same region lower the number of students who are out of school. Unfortunately, what we see is that progress in this area has slowed since 2004. More than half of the children still out of school live in that sub-Saharan region. So now what we also see is as more students complete primary school, this is putting new pressure on secondary schools. They're going to need to pick it up. Also, something that I really didn't like seeing is that more than 120 young people worldwide are still classified as illiterate. And as we know, that means cannot read or write. So basically what we're seeing here, if you want my opinion, is that we've made some progress. If it was green for go, yellow for slow, red for stop, I would say that we're in the yellow range because we have seen improvements. 61 million children, are out of school in 2010 compared to 100 million in 1999, and that's a good thing. But like we said, since 2004, progress has slowed, and we still have 120 million young people who are considered illiterate. Now, remember also that that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not enrolled in school. We talked about how even if students are enrolled in school, they could, what was I going to say? Due to poor teacher training and due to lack of teachers and due to high classroom sizes, 81 students to one teacher, that doesn't mean that every child in that classroom is learning. So that's just something to think about. All right, so let's clear our board. The next thing that we did was we looked at two case studies that relate to education. First, we looked at Hamisi Shizi, and Oh, by the way, this paper you can get in the Google Calendar. I attached it for you. Anyway, we took a minute to read this, and I'll let you read it on your own. I'm not going to read it for you, but it's a story of what happened to one student, or one child, I should say, who wanted to go to school, but he couldn't at first. And then there was an incident that showed really how illiteracy can hurt someone. It was something that we hadn't even really discussed yesterday. So here you have Hamisi, and he wanted to go to school. It wasn't until he was 15 years old that he was actually able to go to school. Hang on, let me grab my highlighter again. All right, so it took him 15 years to actually get into school. Up until then, he was just watching his grandfather's cows. That was his job, to help on the family farm. But he wanted to go to school. He says, it pained me, but we have no choice. You have to remember that there's these societal expectations, these cultural obligations, and you know, what it says in his area, his culture, is you're going to work on your family farm. He was stuck in that role. So anyway, before he started school, it says that he was arrested because he rode a bike into a forbidden area. There was a sign that he couldn't read, so he was fined 500 shillings. I think that's shillings. Ben Scoggin looked it up for us, and what he found was that equates to about $3 American, which doesn't seem like a lot, but you have to remember that it's all relative. We spend $150 each week on food, some of us, I don't know. But I saw a picture once that showed he's in Tanzania, and it actually showed what does the average family in Tanzania spend on food, and it was like a little over $1 maybe. So that gives you an idea of what the value of $3 actually is. Anyway, he said the fine wasn't bad, but the embarrassment was even greater. He says educated people don't respect those who are ignorant. And I have to say, I don't really care for the term ignorant here. I think ignorant is somebody... I think a better word would be illiterate, somebody who can't read or write, and that represents a skill deficit, somebody who can't do something, who might want to. Whereas ignorant, I associate that more with somebody who doesn't want to do something, somebody who's closed-minded and doesn't care to learn. So I don't care for that word, but I do agree with the idea that educated people sometimes don't respect people who are illiterate, and especially if they can't help the fact that they're illiterate. But you see here, I mean, he wants a better life for himself. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The next case study, excuse me, I keep dropping my iPad. The next case study is about Esther. And Esther works in a teacher resource center in Solwa. And what it does is it basically helps primary and secondary school teachers in the area. So again, you can read this one on your own, but basically what she says is that Oxfam, that program that we were talking about, they've set up this program where they support the teachers in the area with training and materials. And that's what we were discussing yesterday, how teachers lack the necessary training. So in this case, she compares what school was like 10 years ago to what it's like now. 10 years ago, she said you saw teachers in front of the class just talking to their students. The kids would disappear in this large class. They wouldn't get the attention that they need, and they were very unengaged in class. Whereas now, the teachers have been trained and they have better materials, so they listen more than they talk. The kids are involved. They feel like what they have to say is worthwhile. They can explain themselves, and they're happier to be in school. So we talked for a second about what experience we have here, or I shouldn't say me, but you guys as students. Do you think that your education is more like she describes 10 years ago or more like she describes now? Most of the class agreed that it was how her classroom looks now, which made me happy to hear. All right, so the next thing that we did, I already closed the window here, but you'll see a link in the Google Calendar for Malala's interview with Jon Stewart. Or I should say Jon Stewart's interview with Malala. It's an incredible interview. Take a moment to watch it. It's about 16 minutes long. And in this interview, she not only talks about education and the importance of education, but she talks about women's empowerment, which is the Millennium Development Goal that we're going to get into tomorrow. So take a few minutes, watch the video, and then tomorrow when we come in, we're going to talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to get into that third MDG. So if you have any questions, just shoot me an email and I'll help you out. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.